Let me tell you something you may not want to hear but desperately need to. If the world no longer respects you, if people look right through you, if your name is whispered behind closed doors but never honored in public spaces, it's not just bad luck or someone else's doing. There's a mirror you need to stand in front of. And in that mirror there are habits like shadows wrapped around your spirit that are robbing you of the spirit you were born to carry. Hear me when I say this. Before the world gives you anything, before people bow their heads in honor when your name is mentioned, you must remove what is dishonorable in yourself. God will never crown what you refuse to crucify within. And I'm not talking about doctrine or religion. I'm not here to give you theology. I am talking about standing in front of your Creator, heart open, and saying, search me, strip me, because there are 5 habits, my friend, that will keep you small when you were born to be mighty. And until you let God burn those habits out of your soul like fire through dry grass, you will not see the honor your heart is crying for. You see, the respect you long for is not first about others seeing you. It's about God seeing something in you that He can trust. Respect doesn't begin with applause. It begins with transformation. You can fool a crowd, you can dress the part, quote the right words, but God does not look at the outside. God peers into the marrow of who you are. And until the marrow is cleansed, the spirit cannot rise. Some of us are trying to carry respect while dragging along bitterness like a chain. Bitterness that poisons every conversation, bitterness that walks into every room before you even speak. God will not honor a heart that carries old wounds like badges of identity. The first habit we must let go of is the habit of unforgiveness. Oh, how easily we cling to it, feeding it, nursing it, letting it grow into a story we retell to ourselves every night. They wronged me, you say. They left me. They betrayed me. Yes, they did. But the moment you keep replaying their offense, you make their actions your prison. And while you sit in that prison, waiting for others to apologize, the respect you were meant to carry rusts in the corner of your soul. Let me ask you, how long will you drink poison and expect the other to suffer? How long will you allow your peace to be held hostage by people who aren't even thinking about you anymore? The Creator does not pour oil on vessels that are filled with old grudges. You must be emptied. You must be cleansed. Let it go, not for them, for you, for your destiny, for the honor God wants to place upon your shoulders. The second habit is the deadly desire to be liked by everyone. Oh, how many destinies have died under the weight of public approval. If you are always adjusting yourself to be accepted, you will never be respected. People may smile at you, they may clap for you, but behind closed doors they will not follow you, because even they can see that you are not anchored in truth. Respect is born when a man or woman decides, I will not bend for what is popular, I will stand for what is right. And do you know what's right? Trusting God when the crowd turns silent. Following the voice of the one who never leaves, even when it means walking alone. Look at the trees that grow strong. They are the ones that pushed against the wind, not the ones that leaned with it. If you change who you are every time the culture changes its mind, you will never walk in dignity. God honors those who are rooted, who stand, even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs them something. Are you willing to be rejected in order to be respected? If not, you will always be a slave to the opinions of those who cannot bless you, cannot promote you, and cannot heal you. Stop bowing before the court of public opinion and start bowing before the throne of the one who sees all. Then there's the habit of speaking without discipline. A mouth that cannot be tamed will always lead to a life that cannot be respected. Some people talk so much, they leave no room for their spirit to grow. Every frustration becomes a post. Every conflict becomes a gossip session. Every pain becomes a public performance. But you must understand, respect is built in silence, in self-control, in the refusal to give your enemies access to your peace. The tongue is a small thing, yet it can burn down the forest of your reputation in seconds. And when you speak without grace, without wisdom, without purpose, you hand your dignity over to the wind. Let God teach you the strength of restraint. There is power in the pause. There is glory in silence. There is authority in holding your tongue until it's time to speak with intention. Not every battle requires your commentary. Not every betrayal deserves a response. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. And let the peace of God roar louder than your critics ever could. Now we come to pride, that unyielding, subtle serpent that whispers, "You are enough without God." Pride is the habit that tells you to keep pretending, to keep performing, to keep acting like you're in control when everything inside you is screaming for help. But hear me, there is no respect in arrogance. There is no honor in pretending to be more than you are. God exalts the humble, not the haughty. The ones who bend their knees before life breaks them. The ones who say, "I don't have all the answers, but I trust the one who does." When you remove pride, you make space for wisdom, you make room for grace, you invite God into the place where you once stood alone, and in that place, God begins to lift you, not because of your strength, but because of your surrender. You see, the world teaches you that respect comes from domination, from being the loudest, the smartest, the most powerful in the room. But in the eyes of the eternal, respect comes from submission, not to people, but to truth, to divine order, to the quiet power of humility. Let go of pride before it becomes your downfall. Let go before you lose what you were trying so hard to protect. Let the Creator fight your battles. Let Him raise you up in His timing. And perhaps the most destructive habit of all is the habit of inconsistency. The double life, the shifting standard, saying one thing, living another, promising much, delivering little. Let me ask you, can you be trusted when no one is watching? Can you be counted on when there is no applause, no audience, no reward in sight? Or do you rise and fall based on your feelings? People respect consistency more than talent. They follow reliability more than charisma. Because in a world full of chaos, what people crave is certainty. And if you want God to entrust you with influence, you must show Him that your foundation is steady. Stop changing who you are, depending on who you're with. Stop making promises your discipline cannot keep. Stop being loud in your ambition, but quiet in your actions. Let your life speak so clearly that your words become unnecessary. A steady hand, a focused path, a spirit rooted in the eternal. This is what earns respect. God does not bless confusion. God does not anoint instability. He blesses those who are planted, not those who are always moving, always shifting, always looking for the next thrill. Stand still. Be firm. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. I tell you this not to shame you, but to call you higher. You were never created to beg for validation. You were not born to chase admiration. You were formed in the image of the Creator, crafted by divine hands, not to be pitied, but to be honored. But honor requires cleansing, and cleansing is never easy. Fire purifies, but it also drowns. Water refreshes, but it also drowns what cannot float. And the truth will set you free, yes, but it will first shatter the chains you've grown comfortable wearing. There is a better you waiting beyond the habits you've carried for too long. But that version of you is not found in popularity or position or possessions. That version is found in the fire, in the refining, in the surrender. The respect you want begins with the God you've ignored. The respect you long for begins when you stop performing and start transforming. And transformation doesn't happen in a moment. It happens in obedience, in repentance, in returning, in listening, in choosing each day to say, God, remove from me what blocks your glory. Remove from me what poisons my peace. Remove from me what offends your presence. You do not need a title to be respected. You do not need riches to be revered. What you need is alignment. Alignment with God's order, alignment with God's truth, alignment with your calling. Strip away what distracts you from that alignment and watch as people begin to take notice, not because you demanded it, but because the weight of your integrity speaks louder than any self-promotion ever could. You want to be respected? Then start by respecting the time God has given you. Respect your own word. Respect the temple that is your body. Respect the silence when God is speaking. Respect the calling that pulls on your spirit when everyone else is sleeping. Stop delaying your transformation. Stop excusing your dysfunction. Stop dressing up decay and calling it destiny. Face it, feel it, change it. Let the habits fall away like scales from your eyes. Let them burn in the fire of divine truth. Let God be the architect of the new you, the respected you, the healed you. Because when God finds a soul that is ready to be cleansed, He begins to build something eternal. And no matter what storms may come, no matter who tries to tear you down, no matter what lies are spoken against your name, when God honors you, no man can dishonor you. When God lifts you, no one can lower you. When God surrounds you with favor, it is not because you demanded it, but because you became the kind of vessel that could carry it without leaking. So throw off every habit that has chained you to weakness. Let the one who never leaves shape your spirit into something sacred, and in that sacred place you will find more than respect. You will find purpose. You will find peace. You will find the power to walk into any room, any battle, any season of life, knowing that you are not alone. You are seen, you are strengthened, and you are standing with the Creator who holds your future in His mighty hands. And now, let me speak to the part of you that hides, the part that's tired of trying, tired of proving, tired of wearing a mask that no longer fits, the soul behind your eyes that's begging for peace, yet caught in the whirlwind of people's opinions. You can't sleep because you carry the weight of who you're trying to be, and yet all the while, your spirit whispers, there must be more. And yes, there is more. But the more you seek doesn't come through applause or through others bending their knees to you. It comes when you bend your heart before the one who formed you in silence, who knew your name before anyone else ever spoke it. Respect is not something that starts outside of you. It is born when your heart aligns with the God who never abandons, never slumbers, never grows weary. You see, the true measure of a person is not in what they say when they are watched, but what they live when the world is silent. That's when God begins His work, in the quiet spaces, in the hidden hours. Respect flows not from what you can show, but from what you have survived with God. The scars you carry, yes, those deep wounds from betrayal, abandonment, humiliation, they were never meant to break you. They were allowed to shape you, but only if you bring them to God, not to people, not to the noise, not to the crowd, because when you bring your brokenness to others, they often use it against you. But when you bring it to God, He turns it into wisdom. He turns it into power. And when the soul is healed, when the heart is realigned, when the ego is stripped away, that's when true respect begins to rise, not just in the eyes of men, but in the realm of heaven. Some of you have been chasing validation your whole life. You've been twisting yourself to earn love, trading your dignity for moments of approval. But you were never meant to shrink to be seen. You were meant to stand in divine authority, covered not by the approval of people, but by the shelter of God's mercy. God doesn't want a version of you that fits the culture. He wants the version of you that fears nothing but losing Him. And when you live from that place, when you wake up with conviction, not convenience, suddenly people take notice. They may not understand you, they may not always like you, but they will respect the strength that cannot be bought and the truth that cannot be shaken. Let me speak to your habits again, because habits shape your destiny more than your dreams ever will. It's easy to dream of being respected. It's easy to talk about it. But respect is earned in the mundane, in the discipline, in how you treat the quiet moments. Are you faithful with time? Are you faithful with your word? Do you speak the truth even when it costs you comfort? Do you stand still when the pressure to conform rises? This is where the foundation is laid. God does not bless who you pretend to be. He blesses who you are when no one is watching. And what about the habit of compromise? The slow decay of your values for temporary comfort. Every time you know what is right but choose what is easy, a part of your soul grows dim. Every time you silence your conscience to fit in, you are stepping further from the path that leads to real power. Let me tell you this with love and fire. No one who constantly bends to the world can ever walk tall in the kingdom of truth. God respects courage. God honors the one who stands alone in righteousness over the one who stands with the crowd in confusion. And the moment you choose to live from a place of unshakable conviction, not rudeness, not arrogance, but rooted truth, that's when the atmosphere around you begins to shift. That's when doors open. That's when people may not even understand you, but they can't ignore the weight you carry. Because that weight comes from God, not from applause. Do not forget that respect is born when the soul is aligned with order, God's order. You must look within and ask, is my life in order? Or have I allowed chaos to become my normal? Are my thoughts disciplined, or do I allow every emotion to control my response? Do I master my moods, or do my moods master me? Order, my friend, is the reflection of respect. Respect for yourself, respect for the time you've been given, respect for the mission you've been assigned by the one who created you. There is no honor without order. God will not anoint what you refuse to organize. Start with your thoughts. Begin with your decisions. Take authority over what enters your mind, because the battlefield is not out there, it's inside you. And when you bring divine order into your habits, your words, your priorities, respect will follow like a shadow that never leaves. And I must say this, because the habit of blaming others is destroying the strength of many. How long will you hold others responsible for your lack of peace? How long will you say, if they didn't leave me, if they had supported me, if they hadn't betrayed me? Yes, people have failed you, but that is not your identity. That is your lesson. And God does not call the victim to rise. He calls the warrior within the victim to awaken. You cannot carry both resentment and respect. You cannot live in the past and walk into the future. And you cannot worship your pain and still claim to serve the God who heals. Make peace with what you cannot change. Lay it before God. Mourn if you must, but then rise, clean your face, and walk forward with dignity. The world doesn't need another echo of sorrow. It needs the sound of one soul who dares to rise above it. Let me tell you something deeper. God respects those who respect His presence. You cannot live disconnected from the voice of God and still expect the fruits of divine favor. Do you give God your first moments of the day, or do you scroll through distractions before you even open your heart to Him? Do you consult God before decisions, or do you run to Him only after you've fallen? If you want heaven to respect your presence, you must learn to revere the presence of God. Not out of fear, but out of awe. Reverence is not ritual. It is the deep recognition that without God, nothing you build will last. Without God, your strength is limited. Without God, your name is paper in the wind. But with God, oh, with God, even your silence carries weight. Even your stillness radiates power. Even your scars become sermons. Let your respect for God lead every other area of your life. And then, when the storms come, and they will, you will stand firm. because those who trust in the Creator do not sway with the seasons. They do not collapse under pressure. They are rooted in something deeper than circumstance. Some of you have lost respect because you've allowed your trials to define you instead of refine you. But you must understand, adversity is the training ground of dignity. Do not curse the storm. Thank God for the strength it's building in you. Do not ask why the pain came. Ask what it's making possible. Every challenge is an invitation to become who you were created to be. And when you suffer well, not in silence, but in trust, you rise above what others use to destroy themselves. And finally, hear this truth and write it on the walls of your heart. The respect you long for is not simply to be seen, it is to be known. Known as consistent, known as honest, known as someone who fears nothing except being outside of God's will, known as someone who speaks life, who walks in wisdom, who doesn't gossip, doesn't fake, doesn't bend for every breeze that blows. The quiet glow of obedience speaks louder than 1,000 arguments. Respect grows in the soil of stillness when you walk away from gossip, from chaos, from comparison. When you live as if your approval is already secured in the heart of the Almighty, that is when you truly become untouchable. Not because you are above others, but because your soul is rooted deeper than they can reach. Some of you are wondering why people dismiss you, ignore you, overlook you. But could it be that you've been too available to those who don't value your spirit? Could it be that in trying to keep peace with others, you've lost peace with yourself? It is time to reclaim your space. It is time to stop sitting at tables where respect is not served. And how do you do that? You begin by respecting yourself enough to walk away from anything that steals your clarity. You begin by refusing to entertain anything that pulls you out of alignment with your divine assignment. Because the more you honor your own spirit, the more others will begin to honor it too. Not all at once, not without resistance, but slowly, surely, undeniably. Because when God is with you, your silence has thunder in it. Your presence carries weight. Let me tell you, beloved soul, there is a fire inside you that the world did not give and the world cannot extinguish. But that fire must be tended. It must be protected from habits that smother the flame. Habits like procrastination, self-pity, people-pleasing. Each of these is a thief. They rob your future while offering temporary comfort. But you were not created for comfort. You were created for greatness. Not the kind of greatness that boasts, but the kind that stands firm when everything else shakes. And that kind of greatness requires pruning. It requires the courage to let go of the familiar and reach for the eternal. And never forget, the soul that God respects is not the one that never falls, but the one that refuses to stay down. You may have failed. You may have betrayed your own standards, but if you are still breathing, then God is not done with you. Let today be the day you stop rehearsing your regrets and start renewing your resolve. Let today be the day you take full responsibility, not with shame, but with sacred determination. Because every fall that ends in surrender to God becomes a stepping stone toward divine strength. You rise by returning. You grow by going deeper. And you lead others by first learning to follow the quiet voice of the Creator, who speaks not to your image, but to your essence. Now I speak to those who feel invisible, those who feel like no matter what they do, no one notices. Let me tell you this truth. The world may not applaud consistency, but heaven does. Every unseen act of integrity, every silent decision to do what's right, every private surrender to God, that is where true respect is built. Not overnight, not through loud achievements, but through the slow, holy work of faithfulness. And eventually, the light that comes from within cannot be hidden. Eventually, the honor that comes from God becomes impossible to ignore. You will walk into rooms where people don't know your story, but they will feel your spirit. They won't understand why they're drawn to you, but they will sense the weight of the presence you carry. This is not a fantasy. This is not a dream. This is what happens when a person removes the habits that kill respect and replaces them with divine discipline. When you live for an audience of one, you stop performing, you start becoming. And in becoming, you attract everything that was meant for the real you, not the polished version, not the fearful version, but the healed, whole, and holy version of you. That version can lead, that version can lift others, that version earns respect, not by force, but by faith. So lift your head, even if it's heavy with shame. Straighten your back, even if it's been bent by years of trying to fit in. You were not made to beg for worth, you were made to walk in it. And that worth comes not from the world, but from the one who shaped the stars and still took the time to shape your soul. You matter. Not because people say you do, but because God never created anything unworthy of His breath. Keep walking. Keep rising. Keep purging every habit that dims your light, because the day you decide to fully align your heart, your time, your speech, and your actions with the will of God, that day heaven stands still. That day respect begins to chase you down, not because of who you convince the world you are, but because of who you truly became when no one was looking except God. Let me speak now to the heart that feels weary from trying. You've been sowing goodness. You've been choosing the high road. You've been silent when it hurt and patient when it burned. Yet you look around and wonder, where is the reward? Where is the recognition? Why do the loud seem to rise and the faithful seem to fade? Oh, but you must understand, when you serve the one who never leaves, the reward does not always come in applause. It comes in authority. Divine authority, quiet strength, spiritual weight. God does not elevate with noise. He elevates with stillness, with process, with pruning. The most respected souls are often the ones who endured the deepest valleys and still chose to trust. Respect is not purchased with charm or performance. It is earned with perseverance. It is the fruit of restraint when others lash out, of endurance when others give up. It is choosing dignity when gossip beckons, choosing silence when provoked, choosing excellence when no one is watching. And let me tell you, God is always watching. Not to punish you, but to promote you at the right time. You do not need to fight to be seen. When God chooses to lift you, no hand can hold you down. But you must stay faithful in the unseen moments, because true respect is forged in the furnace of obedience, not in the spotlight of approval. Some of you are still carrying bitterness like a badge. But hear me, presentment is a thief. It hardens the spirit and softens your witness. You cannot demand respect while poisoning your own peace. Let it go. Let it go, not because they were right, but because God is. Let it go, not to forget the pain, but to preserve the purity of your soul. Every second you spend clinging to offenses is a second you could be building the life God intended. Respect is attracted to peace, not passivity, but peace. That kind of peace that walks away when necessary, speaks truth without venom, and sleeps soundly knowing God will settle every score in His time. And there's another habit that must be uprooted, the habit of small thinking. If your vision does not scare you a little, stretch you deeply, or push you closer to your knees in prayer, then it's not God-sized. People do not respect what is average. They respect what is audacious, what is brave, what breaks molds. And the truth is, you serve a Creator who never made anything common. Look at the mountains. Do they shrink? Look at the oceans. Do they whisper? No, they roar, they tower. They stretch beyond what the eye can see. And if creation reflects the Creator, then why should you settle for smallness in your spirit? Dream boldly. not for ego, but for impact. Expand your capacity to believe that with God, the impossible is merely an invitation. But understand this: vision without discipline is delusion. You must not only dream boldly, but live wisely. The path to respect is not paved with shortcuts. It is carved through sacrifice. It means getting up early when the world sleeps. It means choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. It means showing up fully, even when no one claps. You see, people respect those who are consistent, not just charismatic, who are principled, not just popular, who would rather be honest and alone than deceitful and applauded. And when your choices begin to align with timeless truth instead of temporary trends, people take notice, because truth, real truth, never goes out of style. Let me tell you something you may not want to hear, but you need to stop blaming others for the respect you haven't earned. Stop pointing fingers at those who overlook you, and start asking what you've allowed that's unworthy of the divine purpose God placed inside you. You were not created to react, you were created to respond. And every time you react in anger, in insecurity, in pride, you hand over your spiritual authority to those who do not understand your value. But when you respond with poise, with purpose, with power rooted in God, you rise, not above people, but above the noise. And to those who've been told they'll never change, let me speak to your spirit now. Growth is holy. Change is not betrayal. It is the evidence of a soul in motion. The people who say you've changed are often the ones who benefited from your stagnation. But you are not here to stay the same. You are here to evolve, to transform, to shed what no longer serves your calling. And yes, that shedding may cost you relationships, routines, even your reputation. But the reward is your reflection beginning to look more and more like the one God saw when He first formed you. And that version of you, that version is respected not only by people, but by heaven itself. And now I must say this: your words matter. Life and death rest in the power of the tongue. If your mouth is careless, don't expect your presence to be honored. Speak like someone who understands the weight of every syllable. Speak life, speak healing, speak with clarity and courage. Do not use your voice to tear down what God is trying to build. Your words are a mirror of your soul, and when they carry wisdom, they command respect without effort. When they drip with truth and grace, they silence gossip and elevate the atmosphere. And let's not forget the weight of self-respect, because you cannot command from others what you will not cultivate in yourself. If you constantly break your own boundaries, compromise your own convictions, abandon your own values, how can you expect others to treat you differently? Respect begins with how you treat yourself when no one is watching. What you tolerate, what you entertain, what you excuse. Every act of self-respect is a message to the world: I am accountable to God, and that alone makes me worthy of honor. Some of you feel disrespected not because others are blind, but because you've kept your soul in places that can't appreciate the light. God never called you to be a doormat for dysfunction. He called you to be a temple of dignity. And if your presence is not valued where you are, perhaps it's because your purpose is no longer planted there. Sometimes the most powerful act of faith is walking away, not in bitterness, but in boldness, not in pride, but in peace. Because when you leave the noise, you make space for the sacred. You give God room to open doors that your compromise kept closed. The voice of God is not in the crowd, it's in the quiet place, and in that place He reminds you of who you are. His creation, formed with intention, infused with eternity. And when you walk with that awareness, every step becomes holy, every choice becomes weighty, every word becomes sacred. That kind of walk earns respect, not just from people, but from the very atmosphere around you. because the soul, in alignment with God, radiates an authority that can't be counterfeited. Now I ask you, what are you still holding on to that is costing you respect? What habit, what mindset, what secret are you allowing to chain your spirit? The time to release it is now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Now, because God honors obedience, not delay. The very habit you're tolerating may be the very thing blocking the favor and honor you've been praying for. So let go. Let go of the sarcasm that covers pain. Let go of the envy that poisons joy. Let go of the laziness that robs destiny. Let go of the pride that resists correction. Let go of the shame that keeps you silent. Let it go and rise. For when you remove what is unworthy, God begins to pour out what is divine. Respect is not a goal. It is a byproduct of walking with God, of talking with purpose, of choosing the narrow road, of standing when it's easier to bow. And though the journey may be lonely, it will never be empty, because the one who never leaves is walking with you step by step, day by day, refining you, not for applause, but for eternal impact. And in the silence of your surrender, in the quiet of your transformation, respect will find you, not as something you chased, but as something you became. So now, my friend, I ask you, where do you stand? Not in the eyes of men, not in the echo of applause or the whisper of critics, but in the stillness of your own soul before God. Strip away the noise, remove the mask, forget what the world has told you respect looks like. Look deeper. Respect is not in titles, it's not in wealth, it's not in how many follow you, but in who you choose to. And when you follow the one who never leaves, you begin to walk in a way that shifts atmospheres. Not because you demand honor, but because you carry it. Every habit you lay down, every thought you renew, every step you take toward the light of God's truth, these are seeds. Seeds planted in the unseen, nurtured in obedience and watered with faith. One day they bloom, not only into respect from others, but into a legacy that cannot be erased. You are not made for mediocrity. You are not created to beg for what God has already empowered you to carry. You are crafted with intention by the hands of the Almighty. And the Creator of the heavens did not place you on this earth to be ruled by fear, insecurity, or the opinions of the blind. This is your moment, not a moment of performance, but of reflection. Will you continue walking the path of comfort and complaint, or will you rise? Rise with reverence, rise with resolve, rise with the fire of God blazing in your heart and the peace of His presence anchoring your steps. The habits you remove today will shape the soul you carry into tomorrow. You cannot walk into destiny weighed down by what God has called you to release. Let today be the day you choose transformation over tradition, courage over comfort, and conviction over convenience. Search your heart, examine your intentions, cleanse the inner temple. Speak to the one who knows the depths of your pain and the height of your potential. Lay it all before God, not because you are perfect, but because you are willing to be molded, willing to be humbled, willing to be used. The world respects those who walk in truth, and heaven honors those who walk in obedience. And when you do both, you become a force no darkness can imitate, no enemy can silence, and no circumstance can define. Let your steps be bold, not arrogant, but assured. Assured that your Creator is with you. Assured that no valley is too deep, no failure too final, no scar too ugly for the hands of God to heal and use. Respect is born in fire, and you, my friend, were forged in it. You survived what others collapsed under. You endured what was meant to break you. And now, the God who carried you through the storm is calling you to stand not just tall, but transformed. So stand. Stand in integrity, stand in humility, stand in power. Let your life become a message that speaks even in silence. Let it tell the world that real respect isn't given, it is lived. It is lived through surrender, through faith, through the quiet resolve to walk with God when it costs you everything. And know this: when you walk with God, you lose nothing worth keeping and gain everything worth living for. Now go and release what holds you. Go and forgive what haunts you. Go and speak with truth. Go and live with fire. Go and carry yourself like someone who knows exactly who walks beside them. The world is watching. But more importantly, God is watching. And He is waiting.